In the spirit of not giving up, we're going to start right where we left off. Good morning, welcome back to This Old Boat. Today we're going to be installing the Bimini, the ladder, and tying up a few loose ends on the wiring. Now we're going to install Lippert's Pontoon Ladder. In my opinion, this is the most premium ladder on the market. It's good for pets and people. We're going to go over installation, give you a few tips, and be able to show you the function at the end. Well, so you would take it out of the box, step one, right? We've already done that. You may have seen we already dry fitted it, so we knew it was going to fit good. Here's where we're going to decide our final placement. We want to have room for our hands here, so I'm going to move it over to the right as much as I can. Gives us good room for hands, real solid spot. Now that we've decided our final spot to install, we're going to use a Sharpie and we're going to mark our holes. So from above you can see there's 6 holes on each side. I've already clicked the QR code on the box and checked out the installation manual. And the installation instructions say that they want to make sure you through bolt through at least 1 aluminum crossmember. The rest can be wood screws or machine screws with nuts and washers on the end. With a ladder, I always like to err on the side of safety, and we're going to use all through bolts throughout the whole thing. Now that I've marked the location of all the holes, I'm going to take it off the boat and set it aside. And before I do any drilling, I'm going to look underneath. Oh man, right here where we're drilling these 4 holes is the shifter cable. So knowing that, I'm going to try to pull it away from as much as I can. I'm going to be very careful in those areas. The ladder uses 1/4-20 installation bolts or screws. So I'm using a 5/16 drill bit, which is a little bigger. That's going to help give us a little bit of room for play in all those. And let water drain out through the bottom of it and keep it aired out and dry. Start back here again. I'm going to look underneath and double check before I go. Even with this one, I want to make sure we don't hit that steering cable. See that? Push that out of the way. All right. Always a little scary drilling a hole in a boat. So for this one, we're going to go through aluminum. So I'm going to put my safety glasses on, and I'll be prepared for it to take a little longer. Oh man.
You can't script that.
That's right. Well, that happened. We're going to take some vice grips. We're going to get a good strong clamp on it. Back it out. There we go. That was easy. Get ourselves a new drill bit. In the spirit of not giving up, we're going to start right where we left off. This bit is stuck in there, so we're going to try to tap it back out. Oh, there we see it. Grab it with our pliers. Got it. All right. Because that last one got a little away from us, I want to set this up there and recheck and make sure we're still on track. Do that is to start sliding a few bolts in. I'm not putting these in for the final time. I'm just putting them in to make sure that they're all going to line up. Even the one we had to re-drill, doing good. All right, now on a pontoon boat, if this were a fiberglass boat, we'd be using like an adhesive caulk. On a pontoon boat, we're not gonna do that. It spends the majority of the time or all the time up out of the water. So any water that gets in, we want it to be able to drain out. All right, and that's the last one. So now we finished putting in 1/4 machine screws. We've got nuts, or we've got washers and nuts on the bottom of each one. We've got them snug. You could tow a skier with that thing probably. Don't try it. Get this out of the way, some of our tools out of the way. And that's really the hard part. The next part, a little bit of assembly. I'm gonna pull out the instructions again. All right, so you slide your metal base in, you slide your wedge in, slide your metal base all the way to the back, wedge in, and then you put your set screw in through the bottom with an Allen bolt. All right, we've tightened our set screws. Now we're going to slide the ladder into the base. Nice. Our holes line up. So now we use 3/8 fasteners that are included with the kit. These aren't the screws that are included with the kit, but there are ones that are included with the kit. We'll have round Allen bolts on them. But our 3/8 stainless fastener through. It's a locking nut on the other side. And I'll just get all those hand tight before I come back with a ratchet and a socket and tighten these up. So we're gonna take our wrench and put it on the nut. And then we're gonna turn the bolt. Just wanna get all these snug. All right, so the strap comes attached to the ladder, but we'll need to attach it to the hand support, the railing up here. And so go like this to make sure it stays straight. And then I'll put it on the little nipple there, and then put a 1/4 machine screw thread it in. The patented design in this ladder means that this isn't hanging free. There's actually a chain in here, so as you lower it, this is coming out on its own. See how it keeps you away from the tune, away from any transducers. You can see the water line on the boats here. So that means the water will be about right here. Very easy for your pet to swim up and just climb out. We tested the ladder. We like the placement. Everything's tight. One nice finishing touch is Lippert's included this EVA foam step. And that does two things. One, it makes this area not slippery, and it covers these screws so your feet don't touch them. It's essentially just a big sticker. So you want to make sure the area is clean. Peel the backing. Some nice side to keep it centered. I want to leave a little of that shiny stainless exposed on the bottom. I'm just going to roll it up from there. Oh man, that'll be nice on the feet. The old shake. Holy moly, that's a stiff ladder. And it actually gets stiffer as you push down on it. Now that that's done, let's move on to the Bimini. So this is actually a 𝙏𝙤𝙖 brand Power Bimini, the 1000 series. It's made by Lippert, and we chose this because it's the most reliable and best Power Bimini on the market, and we can add this extension, and you'll see how much added shade that gives and how easy it is to store and deploy. All right, we're back to install the Bimini, and for this job, I wanted to grab my friend Marty here. Marty, you've been doing this a long time, right?
About 16 years since the electric Bimini was invented.
Awesome, so he's gonna help us install it. That should make it a breeze. We also are gonna do the Bimini extension out the front, since this is a 24-footer, so we're gonna get a lot of total shade. To start, we just open it up, make sure we got everything right.
Let's make sure everything's in there. Next, we go to the actuator box, which has the actuators and all the hardware inside. First thing we'll have is a bag of hardware, and this has our switch, our nose cone, all the wiring we'll need to connect the Bimini actuators together and get everything run to the switch. Next thing's our actuators. We have 2 actuators, one for each side of the boat. Typically, we'll install the one with the label on it on the helm side of the boat.
Especially because in this unit, we've elected to use the nose cone switch, which is going to go on the front of the actuator. So like he said, we want to put that on the starboard side where the driver is, so he can reach that.
The first thing that we'll do is attach the rear frame to the actuators, and this will be a temporary to help us lay out to determine the location of the Bimini on the rails for the boat. The 5/32 Allen wrench that we're going to use to install the frame is also used for the emergency retract in case you were to lose power or something would be wrong that you couldn't electronically put the top down.
So if it loses power, you use the Allen wrench and just undo the rear bow or the front bow?
Front bow, what you do is unzip the canvas from the front bow, lower the back frame and the center bow down as normal, and then the front frame would be attached to the actuators. We would loosen, remove these 2 screws, take the front frame off, set it on top of the back one, secure that, and then you can get under bridges or onto your boat lift.
So these rear bows, they're not powered at all. That's kind of the key to the system, is only the front bow's powered, and as it goes up, the canvas grabs this back one and drags it up with it. But this isn't powered, it's just free moving.
Okay. Now if you want to get up on the boat,
yep,
I will hand this up to you. This is the first part of locating where you want the Bimini to be located for your boat. And we're kind of looking for how much shade coverage, and when we put the top down, we don't want to hit people in the head that are sitting in the back seat if we can help it. So we would move this forward and backward till we determine where the best place to locate it is. That looks like that's going to be it. And then at this point, we can take a clamp and clamp this into.
So with our sun deck version here, it'll be nice that when the Bimini's down, it's on the sun deck, and you can still retain use of all this seating. So that's why we have it back this far.
Our goal here will be to get the 2 sides aligned so that the top will fit squarely onto the frame or onto the rails. And the way we do that is we're going to take our first center bow, and all 3 center bows are identical. And again, we're going to temporarily insert this center connector bow into the rear frame.
Okay. Oh, I don't want that to drop off the side over there.
Oh, yeah, we need the clamp on that.
I got the clamp.
Yep.
You think it's good there?
I think so.
Yeah.
It looks like we're going to have plenty of shade coverage where it's located.
Should we go forward with this one or backwards with this one?
Well, let's see what we get. Initially getting it together, you're going to want to insert this side a little bit farther than normal so that we can line that side up. Now, typically what we're looking for at this point is we want to align the frame with the top of the rail so that it fits squarely and perpendicular to
the rail, the fencing, I guess, right?
Yep. And we do that we're going to do that by sliding this center bow either further in or spreading it apart, and then we can take this U and kind of move one actuator backwards or forward, and that'll get us lined up.
I think we're out on both sides right now.
I think we are too.
Let me try to get this one in.
Yeah, but I also think that actuator's a little bit further ahead of this one.
Can't seem to slide it anymore.
If you undo the, you can. It makes it a little easier if you slide this in before you clamp it down. Now slide your actuator back, pull it towards you just a little bit. How do you look on your rail over there?
It's still way wide. It's pointed way out like this.
Way out? Okay, we're gonna need to, and
I think we're still struggling getting it.
okay, the other thing that we can do at this point too, if the boat is narrower, this system is designed to fit 8.5 to 8 foot boats without any alterations. If we go below an 8 foot wide boat, we can easily alter the frame to fit by cutting the center bow. And the way we do that is, say we need 4 inches shorter of a center bow, we're going to cut 2 inches off each end, and then we'll be able to slide. Right now, we're not able to slide them together because the curves are coming together. So we'll just pull this back out, and then you can see, set that back on there, and you can see just how much frame we're trying to put in there. And it's just too much for the curves that we've got. So we can take a good 3 inches off each side of this bow so that we can get this inside. This bow can be cut with either a hacksaw, a circular saw with a carbide tip, a chop saw with a carbide tip.
Well, I'll take it next door and chop it. How about that?
Sounds good.
Our boat, the older style boats, it's 8 feet overall, but you can see that that the fencing is inside from the outer rails, so it's really only like 7'6" wide. But this, cutting all 3 of these at the same time, that's all 3 bows, so we shouldn't have to cut anything else, right? How do we know that we're in the right spot forward and aft?
If the way we're laying this out, moving it here, we're kind of eyeballing. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once the system is set up and these are attached to the rails, if these are laying on top of the rail, that's how our top's going to close every time. So just by the way it's laying out now, we're within 1/4 of an inch of each other on there, and that's really all we require.
Okay.
So on boats, there just really isn't a good way to measure from one side to the other to do your forward and backward, and that's where we do this little dance.
It's more important that it's square and free moving than.
Yep. Now at this point, what I would do is take a pencil and mark where my tubes fit inside. That way we know we can get
a marker. How about that?
Yep, that'll work. We'll just make a quick mark here and here. And now to prep for the nav light on this, we want that to be in the center of the boat, and you can measure up and check that, and we'll do that once we get down. But another good way to do it is just center it off the motor. If you hit this thing on the, where the center of the motor is.
Yep, and you can see the outboard right over the back.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll get you there, and we'll check that with measurements and adjust it once we get down. Now, at this point, we're going to take everything that we just put on the boat, off the boat, and our next step would be wiring. Another good thing to look at this point, once you have your actuator location picked out, what you want to make sure of is that you can get to your mounting bolts, because they're going to come up from the bottom here. This one's going to be approximately in this location. If it was too close to this, we would want to move the actuator either backwards a little bit or forwards a little bit. Same thing here. There's no framework or anything. This bolt's going to be located about here. So we're good on this side. Run over this side.
All clear on that
yeah,
side.
we're all clear on this side. So
Okay.
we're good. We can remove the actuators.
Yep.
Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to go from this mark. Our first measurement is going to be a 1/2 inch back. That's going to be the location of our first bolt mounting hole for the actuator. So we'll set this tape up on our mark. We'll come back 1/2 inch. And see right there. Okay, and then we're going to put our tape right on top of that mark and come back 16 inches. And this is the location of our back hole.
If you haven't been doing this for 100 years, you do have that well marked out in the end.
Yeah, the instructions are pretty good, and there's other videos online too. The reason we're going to use a 3/8 hole, the mounting bolts are 5/16. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room to make sure we're going to get everything exactly back where we had it before. On most installs for the top, this is a rebuild, so we removed all the existing wiring and we're running all new wires. For most customers, the nav light wires are already run in this top rail, so when you're drilling these holes, you want to be careful. Just drill the top one first so you can look down in there and make sure the wire isn't in your way. If it is, you can use a screwdriver to move it to one side and then drill your hole.
So the top of the Bimini usually ends up being one of the highest points on the boat, or is the highest point in the boat, and that's where you would mount your all-around or your anchor, nav light, and now's the time to do it. Since we're going to be running the wires through here to power the SureShade arms, might as well run the wire as well through here to power the nav light.
Okay, so that center mark that we put on the boat while we had it preliminarily assembled, we're now going to take and set the nav light on that mark, center it up on the mark, and then we're just going to mark our holes for the mounting bolts that'll hold that in place.
Self-tapping screws, or do you use through bolt?
You want to use through bolts.
Okay.
Self-tapping screws, the wall thickness on this aluminum's not thick enough to hold self-tapping screws.
All right, and then where are we going to run the light?
We're gonna run a 1/2 inch hole right here to run our wire in and out, and then it'll go inside the rear frame and come out the bottom of the frame so that we can hook up to once we run it into the top rail.
Okay.
We're gonna run this guy. You got a fish tape. Okay.
Just have gravity do it. This is how we usually do it. Boatyards. Here's our nav wire. We're going to put this in, do it at the same time. Blue to blue, white to white.
Yep, everything's good. The actuators are pre-wired, and the plug is just it's a plug-and-play system. Okay, and at this point, what we want to do is we want the actuator wire plug to go up inside the frame. So we're going to kind of bend this wire around a little bit, take up the slack, and then the slot in the bottom of this rear handle is for our wire to ride in, and then the frame will hold it in place. So we just kind of start feeding it in, and you just want to make sure you're not skinning the wire when you're doing this.
The edges of the aluminum can be kind of sharp, so you don't want to cut the coating on the wire.
And our biggest concern when we're doing this is not to leave a big loop of wire down here at the bottom. You want it pretty tight going into that.
So like his fingers making sure that the wire stays in that slot.
And then we just put the frame together, and we can replace the screws that we used earlier. And again, the goal here is not to leave a big loop of wire at the back of the bottom of the actuator. So you can kind of, you want it kind of tight so that when you push the handle in, it pushes all that wire up into the frame. There you go. Okay, and then at this point, the system is ready to go back on the boat to be mounted, and we would want our mounting bolts that are going to come up from the bottom. And Garrett and I will do this kind of as a two-man team. You can do this assembly that we just did on the ground. You can do it on the boat if you're doing this by yourself, and attach these things as pieces and put it together on the boat, much like we did when we did our dry fit.
So we would already have the actuators mounted?
We would mount the actuators, and then we wouldn't plug the wires in at the top until we got on them.
Okay.
Yep. Now you're going to try and line up your holes. The most important one on this, Garrett, is the front one. Once you have the front one, the system can't really teeter-totter on you.
So when the boat came to us, it no longer had a bimini at all. But there were signs that it had a bimini, but that probably had long since worn out. And you could tell it was a manual bimini that required 2 spots for the bows to go up, and then you had to pull a rope down and tie it in the front, and a rope down and tie it in the back. So you can imagine how much easier this is going to be for him. Okay, so our holes ended up a little too close together, so I'm going to have to enlarge the rear hole just a little bit.
Again, your goal here is to get this to fit, right in line with the one that you already have on there.
So we're trying to line this bow up with that bow.
This is our switch that's going to go on the rail. This goes in the front of the actuator, mounts on the rail, and the red and black wire are going to connect to the wire that we just ran. That's going to be, this is red's power, black is ground, and then these 2 wires will plug into the front of the actuator. The wires are already there, and that's a plug and play. This one we may just cut these off and use butt connectors, or you can use spade connectors.
I'm just pulling through the nav light and the power for the bimini itself. We went from the actuator through the rail, and then this is the best way to do it on most aftermarket projects, I think. Out the rail, into the side of the helm, because all of our electronics and batteries right there. So when we push this back over, you won't even see it. All right, so this is our nav light wire. It runs all the way from here through and into the helm. We'll be hooking that right to here where it says nav light on the back. And then this end right here, when we butt splice these together, put a little connector, this goes through here, it goes through the bow up there to the nav light that'll be on the top of the Bimini.
This wiring, we have a blue wire and a white wire. We're going to use the blue wire as our ground wire, so we're going to want to connect the blue to the black. The switch is polarity sensitive, so you got to have it hooked up correctly or it will not operate.
And until you have everything hooked up and good deal, I don't recommend plugging in one and trying it or anything weird like that.
Yeah, you want good solid connections here because we do need as close to 12 volts as we can get to run this system.
And if wiring it to your dash looks daunting, Lippert makes a kit that plugs right into those spades, comes down here, and uses a rechargeable battery, and we'd be already good to go if we were doing that method.
And now we would tuck in all of our excess wire into the power wire coming in. Will go into the bottom, and our outfeed will go out the back. And then the switch plugs in there. We're going to just press fit it for now. There's a screw and a cap that hold the switch in place.
Yeah.
And you'll see on the switch it says 12 volt, 20 volt. The battery system that Garrett was talking about is a 20 volt system. The switch knows the difference between 12 volts and 20 volts, so you're not going to get too much power when you're opening and closing. It operates the same.
So I wired that to 12 volt down below, and now we're testing it.
Again, these are not buttons, they're sensors. They're looking for a finger or a skin contact to operate. And there is a little bit of a delay, you'll notice. I'll put my finger on there. It takes a little bit of a delay. That's for safety, so kids aren't
I
just
see that all the time. People go, look, it's not working. It's not working. I'm like, wait a second, it's going up.
There's a green light for when the top is going up. When we never want to operate the system fully open without a canvas installed. You'll damage the actuators by doing that. The canvas is what stops the forward motion, so without the canvas, it won't stop and will run off the drive screw internally. But when we go down, we have a blue button, and I'm going to hold my finger on the button until that light goes off. The system shuts itself off. It won't keep going because I'm touching it. It shut itself off. It'll go back up, but it won't go back down. So that it's real important that you leave your finger on the button until that light goes off, whether you're opening it or closing it. It's very critical in the radar position, and the radar position is achieved by leaving the storage boot on the frame and the canvas and then raising it until that light goes off. It locks it into position, and any bouncing that you see will just be flex in the frame. It won't be backlash in this gear. That backlash in the gear, if you don't open the top all the way, can damage the internal parts. So whenever you're opening it or closing it, you want to hold your finger on the button until the light goes off.
Once we get the canvas on, we'll get to show that, but it like tensions the canvas, and then it goes, and then it stops on its own, and the unit becomes very solid and strong. All right, so we've got it mounted. We wired it up. We tested it. We still have a few electrical connections to make for the anchor light, and then we're going to put the canvas on and try it. But Marty here, he's got to go. So Marty, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, we learned so much from you, and thank you for your help.
All right, boat looking good.
Thank you. We did it. We built a boat. In 5 days, we took that old-looking pontoon boat and turned it into this. Believe it or not, this is the same boat. So we do have a few little things to wrap up. I'm gonna install the extension. I'm gonna hook up the fuel tank. I'm gonna do some of the wiring, install the nav light. But come back and see us for the reveal, and you and the customer will get to see for the first time everything done, this boat ready to go in the water like it came new from the factory.